Fine.
Morning, everybody. We were just talking about business-related things. The hockey game last night, so we looked a little bit tired. Everybody was wound up. Wow. Just acknowledge Director Paul Horn for wearing whatever. What was that? The Mark Messier jersey? What did you bring out last night?
Yeah, number 11 brought his powers. His
Okay,
leadership powers emanated through.
Whatever you did, you've got to recreate it next time. Anyways, I would like to start this meeting by recognizing the area we call the Fraser Valley Regional District as being home to the Nakatma, the Stalium, the Stalo, and Stahelis peoples for generations. There are 31 communities with reserved lands in the FERD jurisdiction, and actually as many as 69 groups with interests in this area. And this diverse landscape means that there are many different viewpoints that need to be considered when we make decisions, because what we decide here as local governments can affect everyone in different ways now and into the future. So as part of our collective responsibilities, I commit that we continually examine the work we do to ensure that our projects, plans, initiatives, and discussions are guided by the principles of inclusion, collaboration, and reconciliation today and into the future. With that in mind, I'd like to call to order the May 9th, 2024 meeting of the Regional and Corporate Services Committee. First item, Ms. Kinnaman.
Looking for approval of the agenda and late items.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
It's moved by Director Fascio, seconded by Director Pranger. All in favor, opposed if any. Item carries. Next item.
Item 4.1 is the draft Regional and Corporate Services Committee meeting minutes of April 11th, 2024.
Thank you. That's moved by Director Ross, seconded by Director Johnson. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, opposed if any. The item carries. Next item.
Looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
It's moved by Director Fascio, seconded by Director Dickey. All in favor, opposed if any. The item carries.
Okay, and just give us a couple of minutes to set up the room. Okay, Chair, we're ready to reconvene the open meeting when you are.
Thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. Next item.
Moving to 8.1, which is the forced labor report. There is a motion for your consideration.
Thank you. It's
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
by Director Fascio, seconded by Director Popov. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any. Item carries. Next item.
8.2 is Financial Plan 2024 to 2028 Amendment for May.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Dickey and seconded by Director Pranger. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed if any. Item carries. Next item.
8.3 is the 2024 tax requisition results.
Questions from directors on this information item? Director Siemens, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Just wondering how onerous would it be to have the other property tax classifications at maybe at our next board meeting? Is that a fairly onerous task to see what that on light industrial and business, what the effect is on those?
Ms. Kinnaman,
Thank you. I'll just turn things over to our CFO, Kelly Lonsbro.
Ms. Lonsbro.
Thank you for the question through the chair to Director Siemens. I do think that would be a bit of an onerous task. All of our files are very manual. They're all through based through Excel, and we base everything off of the residential rate. So it would be a significant amount of work.
Okay, then I'm
Maybe not
I'm
something
fine
that
with
can be
that.
done before the next board meeting, but sorry, I'm not sure if they wanted to leave the door open. This is information that is of interest to the board. It's something maybe we could plan for in a work plan, so we could get this information to you, Director Siemens. Just maybe not as quickly as you'd like it before the next board.
No, I mean, the tax notices will be going out next month anyway, so no, I'm fine. I just wasn't sure if it was all on the computer and just easy to print off. So no, I'm fine with the process as is. So
Thank you.
that caused any more headaches for staff?
No, that's a good question, though. Thank you. Any other questions, Director Castle?
Yeah, thank you. I know that this report is for internal purposes, but because it is on the website, for public consumption. Just a comment on the charts and the far right column where it says average residential tax decrease. I'm just worried that if someone from the public did happen to stumble on this report and think that their taxes are going down, it's just that wording in that column was a little bit, makes me a little uncomfortable.
Okay, thank you, Director Castle. Comment? Other comments or questions? Don't see any. Next item.
8.4 is the call answer levy update. It's an information item and happy to discuss.
Thank you. Director Horn.
I know that staff haven't asked for recommendation here, and I know that some advocacy is happening through UBCM. But I feel as though we've been talking about this for a long time, and the trigger point is getting closer in terms of where we will not have, we already are, I think, there where we're not sustainably funded. My question to the chair to staff is there something more we could be doing to move the needle on this, and perhaps in the form of, for example, sending leadership to meet at the provincial level or something similar?
Skinnaman.
Sure, through the chair to Director Horn, we would be happy to make those kinds of requests and coordinate with other colleagues if that's of interest. I would comment that I am seeing amongst the 27 regional districts in particular, a growing desire for collaboration on some of these items. And I think we're going to see in the next couple of years here, we call it Club 27, attending en masse on some of these province-wide issues. So this would certainly be another one, and I'd be happy to coordinate anything that was desired by the board.
So with that in mind, Mr. Chair, I would move that we ask our board leader, or ask our CAO to coordinate with the other 26 regional districts to advocate en masse for the call levy to be added to cell phones.
Thank you. That's seconded by Director Prager. Any other discussion? Don't see any. All in favor? Opposed? Any? That carries. And any other questions on the information item? Don't see any. Next item.
9.1.1 is the BC Wildfire Service Rental Agreement.
Thank you. It's moved by
Move, Mr. Chairman.
Director Fazio and seconded by Director McElhonick. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed, if any. Item carries. Next item.
9.2.1 is endorsement of Chilliwack and FVRD Transit Future Action Plan and FVX Service Update.
Thank you. It's moved by Director Popo, seconded by Director Pranger. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed, if any. Item carries. Next item.
9.3.1 is the FVRD Active Transportation Network Plan Phase 3 and the Round 2 Engagement Summary.
Thank you. Questions or comments on the item? Don't see any. I know both Director Smith and I were up at Chawathel First Nation, and they were very interested in this plan, and had lots of nice things to say about some of the engagement that they had up there. So good work to staff. Okay, next item.
Moving down to reports by directors.
Okay, directors, for your opportunity. Director Fazio, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make the same comments at the open meeting, but I just want to attended the Lower Mainland Local Government Conference in Whistler last week, and I have to admit, I have to thank our past president, Director Ross, and her committee for an excellent, well-organized conference. It was just Thursday was a long day, but great presentations, very interesting. I think it was a record this year with 235 registrations. Overall, a good conference, and I congratulate the past president and our new president who's come in now from Langley. Thank you very much, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Director Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just not sure if the municipal directors are as aware. There's an ongoing challenge in some of our electoral areas with construction fill that's originating in Metro Vancouver, ending up on both ALR and non-ALR lands. And just wondering if there's any appetite amongst the municipal directors to try and address this on more of a provincial government forum as a planning project to try and find a regulated and planned destination for these materials.
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in because I am pretty familiar with the issue and have been drawn into it from both the regional district side and from the municipal side. And I think certainly one of the challenges is that you will hear from some of the folks involved in the industry is that there is not a regulated place for it. Now, I've done a little bit of poking around, and I mean, Chilliwack has a place that's regulated by Headlands Environmental. Talked to Mike Hoffer over at Shway, and I met with as recently as a week and a half ago, a company who had to remove about 18 inches of fill and material off of a site because the soil had tested, I think with material in it that, had to be removed. And they did that. They were able to do that in a regulated manner. They've got the slips and the tickets to do it. They had to pay quite a bit more to do it the right way. And I think, certainly I have less patience or compassion for people who just say we're not interested in doing it the right way and using this as a bit of an excuse that there's nowhere. And I've definitely heard that, but I think there's worthwhile to have some engagement with maybe the Solid Waste Management Association or some of the groups that we deal with, to ask who is out there and who's taking regulated fill and the types. Obviously there's a scale, probably a wide variety of material, and same with construction and demolition waste, but I think it's worthwhile to engage. I'll continue to say the enforcement side is going to be just as important that we work with the province on. So as long as folks feel like there is perhaps not as swift of a consequence to breaking the law and to ruining farmland, they'll probably continue to do it. And that's it's unfortunate. So
it would seem that with the growth and development that's taking place in Metro Vancouver, there does need to be a destination for these materials. And as it stands right now, it seems that nobody is wanting to look at that question. It's just the Wild West as it stands. And
yeah,
maybe there should be a planning process and actually trying to address this question in a more scientific manner.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with you, Director Dickey. I saw Director Siemens, and then there's a few others.
Yeah, thank you. This is an ongoing challenge for Abbotsford, and we've there's a whole host of things, and as Director Dickey has said, it is the Wild West out there. And so we've actually increased our enforcement to 7 days a week, but we still can't keep up. And there is a component of this that's the ALC, provincial government has to step in. I'm just wondering if that might be the process. Is there a is this something that Ms. Kinnaman would bring up with the various when they meet with the CAOs of the member municipalities? Is this something that we should have a coordinated effort on the advocacy component of it? Because I think we're all experiencing the same frustration, and maybe we need to be coordinating efforts and making sure that we're not duplicating our advocacy, but coming with a really strong voice, because it is a real challenge for us at the city. I know Chilliwack and Mission are having the same issues And as we are, you know, what we experienced in Columbia Valley, we've experienced that on an ongoing basis here as well. So not sure if that's the right process, but I think that might be a starting point for us to at least have the discussion regionally.
Ms. Kinnaman?
Sure, just a couple of comments through the chair to Director Siemens. Of course, we'd be happy to bring this forward for the Fraser Valley CAOs group. I would also just comment that next week, right prior to the board meeting, we have our EA Advocacy Committee, and this item is actually a subject on that agenda. So that might be an excellent opportunity to just further discuss what approaches might be appropriate in light of the most recent incidents that have been arising, but also as a follow-up from our meeting that we had with the ALC some weeks ago.
Director Pranger, and then Director Castle, then Director Horn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a big issue, and the ministry, housing ministry is pushing for major development. Maybe it needs to be part of their mandate to also regulate where the consequences of the additional development is going. Therefore, I think a coordinated effort between Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Housing has to happen so that the Fraser Valley doesn't become the dumping site for the advanced housing efforts in the metro area. And I'd be happy if we find a coordinated way to get together and discuss this so that we can get a solution before we have more problems.
Thank you, Director Castle.
Thank you, Chair Lum. I want to thank Director Dickey for bringing this up in this forum. This was an item that I was going to bring up at East, but I'm happy to have the discussion with our municipal partners around us. As we all know, in Area F and Area G, over the last couple of years, we've had a huge issue with illegal dumping and filling on agricultural lands. And as Ms. Kinnaman has alluded to, the situation in area has escalated over the last couple of weeks in Area F, where we have local residents actually physically taking action to stop trucks from coming on to properties to dump. I look forward to our conversation with Director Davidson this afternoon because it has become a public safety issue in Area F now. But as Director Davidson has been predicting all along, so much pressure is being applied on these fill sites on the ALR lands that they're simply now just moving east. And over the last few weeks, we've had a dump site established on non-ALR lands right in Desroches. Fortunately, and again, this was another situation where a property owner was had a knock at the door and offered large sums of money for Phil to come in. When the trucks started coming up North Desroches Road, neighbors called and asked if he had his permits in place. Didn't realize he had to do any, but when he realized what was happening, he immediately shut it down and reached out to FERD and provincial agencies. That property owner in particular has chose to do the right thing, but it's come to light that in Area C, that there's now property owners being approached in Area C, also being offered large sums of money. We can't be confident that every property owner is going to do the right thing every time. I've been asking throughout this process, at what point do we stop working to not only address the symptom, but the root cause? And as Director Pranger mentioned, and as Director Dickey mentioned, this is a symptom of the fact, and I've been saying rapid development in Metro, but we've also, the material that's coming into Desroches today is coming from the City of Mission. And while we also keep hearing that the FERD needs a soil deposit bylaw like the municipalities do. We know that in those permits to remove material in the municipalities, they have to indicate where that fill is going. And my question is, does that get audited by the municipalities? When that permit is given by a municipality and on it, it says the fill is going to X property, is that being followed up? Is that being addressed? Are we going to the source? But also, at what point do we try to engage industry to address this issue? This fill has to go somewhere, no matter where it's coming from. It has to go somewhere. And in the electoral areas, we're even aware of public assets that need material, dikes, landfills, etc., that need some of this material. And I'm wondering, at what point do we start to work together with industry, with the province, with each other, to try to find a solution as to where is it supposed to go? If not on the ALR lands, and now if not in Droche, where are these businesses supposed to be taking this material? So I'm really happy that we're having this conversation here. I'm happy to hear from our municipal partners that they might be interested in engaging this. But I think in addition to enforcement, because we've been beating our heads on the wall with enforcement for the last number of years, we need to, I think, raise the lens a bit and take a more proactive, holistic approach at dealing with the root cause of the problem, which is there is millions of tons of material that needs a place to go. So I look forward to participating in the conversation. Thank you again to Director Dickey for bringing it up at the RACS meeting. And I hope that we can come together and start working on this.
Thank you, Director Castle. Director Horn.
Yes, I first want to just echo, I think, what Director Siemens said, that this is a very technical issue and one that needs to start with our CAOs. And I think the initial question was whether or not cities might be interested in finding space to accept this waste. But I think the work of our CAOs would be also to come back to us to help us in terms of the advocacy work we need to do. And specifically, when it comes to a number of different things. And I really appreciated Director Pranger's comments, because she's exactly right. It's one of these hidden downstream effects of the new housing legislation that this problem will become aggravated, and it could end up being downloaded not only to municipalities, but to the rural portions of municipalities, whether they're farmlands or whether they're uplands, such as we have here. And that certainly will not go well for neighborhoods that see themselves as quieter country enclaves where they're getting water from the ground, and where they are hoping that things like former gravel pits will be reclaimed for park use, for example. And certainly that's the sort of thing that's built into our OCP. So I'm concerned about the downloading that way, but I'm also concerned about a lot of the other aspects here. And I would ask that CAO Kinnaman raise these as questions when she meets with her colleagues. What should we be advocating for when it comes to enforcement? I think we've all heard that it's a bit of a Keystone Cops when it becomes necessary to enforce illegal dumping. Nobody knows who is supposed to do what, and it's extremely confusing. Once you identify who might be responsible for enforcement, it becomes clear that they're under-resourced to do so. What about the technical study money that would be needed if we were, for example, asked to reclaim, to use a pit that would have normally been reclaimed a different way for this type of use, or for the testing capacity of soils that would be dumped there? And what about the alignment of legislation such as the soil deposit bylaws, the ability to have soil deposit bylaws in regional districts, such as Director Castle raised, the Mining Act, and I'm sure there's others as well. This is not an easy thing to unpack, and I'm certain it's much more than simply having a city saying, yes, we'd be interested in accepting this waste. I think there's a lot of other downstream costs, as well as the technical work that needs the provincial support.
Thank you, Director Horn. Good points. Yeah, Ms. Kinnaman, I'm certainly, I mean, this is an ongoing issue and there's, as you've heard, as we've all heard this morning, many facets to it. Appreciate Director Dickey, you bringing up, the need for a holistic approach and to go out and actually find out, I imagine, what sites are currently taking it. I did a quick search and, I mean, there's obviously a large variability in whether this is purely contaminated soil, how contaminated by what, or if it's clean fill and appropriate, is it, to be used on, sites grading, et cetera, et cetera. But, you look a little bit and there's places in Chilliwack, Sumas, Abbotsford, Mission, all that take contaminated soils. Part of the challenge is you've got people that do not wish to pay the cost of disposing of this material properly. So it frustrates me a little bit to think that now we should go out of our way to help people who do not want to do the right thing. And I'm not saying everybody, I'm not painting everybody with the same brush, but it would be akin to somebody saying, I do not wish to pay the tipping fee at Mission or Bailey. So instead, I'm going to take my couch and my freezer and push it over the side of a cliff in Popcom or the Chilliwack River Valley. And I'm not interested in doing that. But I think we need to find the ones who are the right players, learn more about, I guess, some of the challenges, learn about who's out there and what capacity exists, make sure we're not just getting a manufactured emergency that sometimes happens when we hear it's just businesses not wanting to pay the appropriate cost. If you're making millions and millions of dollars developing in Metro Vancouver or anywhere, part of your cost, part of your expense is the proper disposal of that material or the demolition material or any of the material you'd have to remove to properly grade and prepare that site for new development. Helping you cut those costs by doing things illegally is not something I think we should be spending our time in. But I do agree with the fact that we need to learn more about where those challenges are, what's out there. Are there regulations at the provincial level that are making these way, way, way too onerous? And certainly I'd be willing to spend time and effort on that for sure. Because what's happening now is not working for anybody. Okay, I see Director Dixon has popped up on my phone. I don't see her. Oh, it's Director McElhattock, sorry.
Sorry.
Director McElhattock.
So just when you're talking about the holistic approach, it is a less cost for them to pay fines. So it's a small cost of doing business. So I think putting those in place and, making the fines, be enough that it's going to deter. And then if you have high enough fines, it can pay for the enforcement. I mean, I think that, everybody's kind of standing back and they need to have, it could have like a 2 or 3 part process, but it needs to be a deterrent. It's not a deterrent. It's a cost of doing business. So you're saying holistic, it needs to be, different parts, but I think a hefty fines that are a deterrent or need to be a part of it, and they need to be put into enforcement. And I don't know how exactly you do that, but because there's different jurisdictions and levels of government, but I think that's a big lack. So
yeah, I think as rightly pointed out by Director Dickey, Director Castle, and everybody, the province is the one holding quite a few of the cards in this. So we do definitely need to engage with them on that side. Director Siemens.
Thank you. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I think it's something that the CAOs could have this discussion, because we have been finding people, we have people in court, and we get played. And so I think there's another level of advocacy that has to happen, because we can try and put all the enforcement in place and we still have people, it's just like whack-a-mole. And so Ministry of Environment has a role to play in this too. And there just seems to be layered bureaucracy that doesn't necessarily get us to to the point where we need to, like it, and we saw that in Columbia Valley to it gets to a crisis situation before we can actually get any movement from senior levels of government. So there's got to be a more coordinated way to resolve some of this because, but I think those details can be discussed and maybe our CAO could express to the others some of the challenges we have here and then maybe come up with a more coordinated access or advocacy approach to it.
Yeah, thank you, Director Stevens. And I know Ms. Kinnaman is going to be active on that file with the Fraser Valley CAOs. And I do want to point out to Director Castle that, you know, highlighting the people who are who have maybe unwittingly taken some of this material, but then immediately correct course. And that's the right, I mean, that's the right thing. We don't want people being taken advantage of in these areas. And I'll say it again, say it publicly as many times as people will listen. If you get a knock on your door to somebody and it sounds like too good to be true, the deal, it probably is too good to be true. And you, the landowner, are going to be the one left holding the bag. You, the landowner, are going to be the one with the land that's left in a unremediatable, you know, kind of mess. And you're the landowner are going to be the one who opens yourself up to civil action when the pollution goes into your neighbors or goes into an aquifer, goes in. And so I don't want any landowners getting taken advantage of. And I think you had brought up some good ideas, Director Castle, about what we can do with some proactive communications. And I know staff are working hard on that already. And that's a positive thing for sure. Director Panger.
Director Popov was.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see my Director Popov.
No, just a question now. First Nations, that's another, you know, part of this conversation, or should be part of the conversation. I know there's Shoei Village, they are accepting a lot of fill. The chief has assured me that it is being tested. We have no way to confirm that or not. I know up to CRV, Swality First Nations, they hauled, I don't know how many thousands of truckloads of soil into that area for what reason. So that should probably form part of the conversation as well, because we, you know, in Chilliwack for sure is surrounded by First Nations, and I know they take the earth very seriously. So I don't know how we would go about that, but I just want to bring that.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I know in some places north of the Fraser, you've got Lacatamo, and we've got some very, very active folks that already we sit at the at planning tables, you know, watershed, the Hatzic watershed planning table, stewardship tables. So these conversations are happening actively as well. Director Pranger.
Just a comment, I heard years ago, the law is written for honest people. Yeah. And those that don't want to obey the rules will find ways to skirt it. And that is a big issue for us, because we have, before it's known, it's late. And hopefully with some coordinated effort, some of the problems can be avoided.
Well, if I sound frustrated on this, it's because I am spoken about this topic at length, and you know, again, I want to use every tool available in the toolkit right now to stop this from happening, to prevent it from happening, to ensure that folks understand that the Fraser Valley will not be a dumping ground for contaminated soil. That we're not going to stand idly by and watch good farmland be destroyed. So that's not a fight that I or any of the directors here are going to back down from. Director Facio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've never thought about this, although for many years I watched I guess probably it could be 50, maybe 100 feet deep, got filled up with the Shem on just outside of Agassiz there. It's full now, but that was all materials from building sites. Now, as this has been brought to our attention, it's a very important issue. I'm not sure whether there are other issues that our staff have for us to discuss, but I would suggest that this be when more of this information has been put together, that we have a morning committee of the whole to discuss this in a better way, and really get down to it and decide how we're going to handle this. Do we have a bylaw? If we do, let's enforce it strongly. If we don't, let's put a bylaw in there, because like Director Pranger says, with the new housing starts, and we're going to hear more in June, the next phase, that this is going to become a major problem, and illegal dumping is going to become very, very big if we don't try and control it. And we have a big region. So thank you for Director Dickey for bringing this up, but I think that's a more in-depth committee of the whole to discuss it and get everything together just on that one subject would be the way to go. That's just an idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just procedurally wonder if it'd be worthwhile making a formal motion that our CAO meet with the municipal CAOs, et cetera, to so this item will appear on the next board meeting agenda, et cetera.
Are you just asking Director Dickey that our CAO do some follow-up with the Fraser Valley CAOs is being suggested by Director Horn and Siemens and Papa?
Yeah, and whether we at this time should make a formal motion to that effect in order to get this on the next meeting's agenda, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I'm looking at Ms. Kinnaman, I'm wondering what would be on the meeting? That's just need to get clarity on.
Thank you. Yes, I would appreciate some clarity around that because of course our next meeting is next week. And we already have that agenda prepared and we'll be publishing it tomorrow. So if the motion is just to direct the CAO to schedule a meeting of the Fraser Valley CAOs to further discuss this topic and develop a coordinated regional strategy, certainly that motion can appear on next week's board agenda. But in terms of bringing anything meaningful on this subject to next week's meeting, I don't think that there is time for us to do that.
That's perfectly understood, but yeah, I would certainly move that motion.
Just to get the meeting. Yeah, perfect. Is there a seconder there? Yeah, seconded. Any comments on the advisability, Director Horn?
Speaking to the motion, in support of the motion, the only thing I would ask, and it doesn't need to change the motion as it was just read or expressed, I think the coordinated strategy needs to be both a strategy for advocacy as well as a strategy for exploration of potential opportunities within our municipalities.
Yep. Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, item carries. Talked out on this one. It's Kinnaman, my
Thank you. So moving down.
blood pressure's going up, so talking about it.
Moving to public question period for items relevant to the agenda. We have no members of the public joining us here in the boardroom today, but I'll just turn things over to our corporate officer to check in online.
Ms. Van Ness?
Thank you. We do not have any members of the public joining us online, and we have not received any written questions with respect to the agenda.
Thank you. Next item.
Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So much, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Director Facio, second by Director Ross. All in favor? Opposed, if any, item carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kinnaman, no need for us to do agenda work this afternoon. Is that correct then?